Welcome to another special episode, one of our Monday episodes with the guests from the UK. We're going to, I don't know if you noticed from last week, we started interviewing people who do YouTube shows with West Ham related, or people who work in the West Ham media. Like last week we had Mike Manera from Hammer's Chat, and we also had Holly Worthington, who's done some work with West Ham TV and West Ham Way, etc. This week our special guest is John Phillips from JPWHUTV on YouTube, one of our favorites. And I'm here with my co-host this week is Wayne. So what's up, John?
Hey, how you doing, Tim? You all right, mate?
All right, now we've got a little more happy. Listen, me and Wayne were talking before we started how depressed we were and how much the game, the Everton match, sucked the life out of us. And, I didn't even want to do a show last night just because
I just got out of my bathrobe.
And but the laughs that we had before we even managed to get on today were worth it. So thanks, John.
No worries.
So anyway, where are you from, and how'd you become a Hammer?
Very long story. I know we've only got an hour, so I try and keep it as short as possible. Because if you see my videos, guys, I like to waffle quite a bit. The short story of it is I'm a Surrey boy, born and raised, but mum's side of the family are all West Ham. And I mean all West Ham. I'm fourth generation. It goes all the way back to my great-granddad. My mum's side of the family are from Barking. We are so West Ham that my grandparents used to live across the road from Bobby Moore's uncle. So back in the 60s, Mum met him quite a few times. They were never friends or anything, but they got to.
How do you mean met him? Come on, John. What do you mean met him?
Just nah. I bloody would have been Andy. Just him popping out of his roller and going into his uncle's. He was a very, very humble man, as everybody knows, and Mum was a testament to that as well. But also, the day I was born was 2.5-3 hours after we beat Arsenal in the FA Cup. Literally that day. So I was preordained to be a Hammer. Fortunately or unfortunately, depending on your point of view, really. And so I've just kept up with them since then, really. It's always been I've always, due to family reasons, unfortunately with politics and all that stuff, I didn't really get to go to many games until the Curbishley. But I always kept an eye out to see what was going on with the boys. Obviously, for example, listening to the games on the radio, and every time a boo used to score, the commentators always used to say, just to let you know, guys, the fans aren't booing the player, they're actually shouting a boo. It used to have me in hysterics in the late 90s. It was so funny. But then I've been a season ticket holder for nearly 10 years now. And it's been, I was blonde when I first started going. Let me put it that way. Very, very stressful. And I'm sure, Wayne, you had a full head of hair when you started watching them.
I definitely had a full head of hair back then. Now, you say you're from whereabouts in Surrey? Because I lived in Surrey for quite a while. I'm a Wimbledon lad.
All right, not that far from it. Near New Malden, Worcester Park. Lived in Kingston.
I know it really well. So did you have to do that bloody ride on the district line all the way to Upton Park? Yeah.
If we had a midweek game, midnight. That was commitment.
Seriously, see, my granddad was the one that got me into it. He was a total East Ender. But I used to do that ride as well. What was the scariest time you ever had coming back from the tube?
I didn't see much, to be honest with you. But I say, because when I started going, it's more 2008, at least on a regular basis. So it was slowing down a little bit, all the problems that we used to have. I mean, fortunately, I missed the Millwall Cup game. I'm very, very fortunate I wasn't able to get a ticket for that, because Christ knows what would have happened. We literally went to the game the following weekend. I think that's when we played Charlton. Charlton at home.
Yeah.
And that was there was a lot of security that day.
Gosh.
So yeah, unfortunately, the only trouble I ever saw was Birmingham in the League Cup under Grant on the second leg. It was like something out of Braveheart. Me and a few mates, we came out of the hotel at the bottom of St Andrews Road, or whatever it's called, and just with this en masse of 100-odd people just coming up over the hill. It was like, bloody hell, here we go. Yeah. But that's about as close as it got for me, really. that side of
my
things.
mate Rich was actually at that match, and the stories he tells of it, he said it was deafening. It was like it was really tough.
It was. We were penned in after the game for an hour in the middle of February in Birmingham on a bloody cold night. I'm never going to forget that. Never.
Seriously. Well, what would you say was your favorite player growing up in West Ham?
I never got to see the bloke live, but just Di Canio, absolutely. Yeah. But in terms of a favourite player that I've actually physically seen, I'd have to say it's Noble. Really, I mean, for the time that I've done it, because when he broke into the squad was around about the time that I was starting to do it. Like for example, the Palace playoff, that heartbreak. And it was that was around about the time I was watching games on a regular basis, starting to go. I know that was 2005, but that was my proper first game I remember watching properly. I'd say in history at the moment, I'd say the current history, I'd say Noble. He is. I hate to use it, but he is Mr. West Ham. He is me on the pitch. And likewise with Declan Rice now, because I associate a lot with him because he grew up a couple of miles away from where I did. So he's the son, my son on the pitch sort of thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's funny. I think a lot of people don't realise that there's that. London's a big place, but it's a small place really. And Declan's a Kingston boy.
Yeah, he is. 28 miles he's got to do every day in the morning for his training and whatnot. Fortunately he drives. I mean, it'd be hysterical to watch him going down the Wimbledon on the district line.
Seriously,
last week and a half ago, if you weren't a Hammer, nobody would have known who he was. We probably could have done it.
Seriously.
Yeah, nobody really knew about Declan Rice until all this Ireland stuff. Nobody really knew about him outside West Ham, obviously, apart from us lot and a few other people that were paid attention to Match of the Day. But not many people really knew who he was.
That's true. I mean, when I saw him a few seasons ago, he made his debut, and even last season he made a few appearances. I never would have expected he would have been the player that he is today.
Oh no way.
Never. I mean, he didn't really. Yeah, I mean, he didn't show anything like that. But I don't know what changed over the summer. But this season, he's proven that it's going to be tough for Fabianski. I mean, for him, I think Rice would be Player of the Year. I mean, Hammer of the Year. I really do. I mean, I personally, I don't like goalkeepers for Hammers of the Year, especially when they lead the league in saves, which is a stat that I don't like at all. I mean, I don't think that's anything to be proud of, especially when you're also not near the bottom in goals against. I mean, he's up there and giving up a lot of goals too. So that's a debate that I tend to spark a lot. But no, what surprised me really though is what you were saying about Noble. Most people in our generation usually say the best player that they've even seen would be Payet.
Not for me, because not just because of all the stupidness. Yes, okay, the last season at the Bowling hit that season, everybody played superb. I mean, even Bonner was brilliant that season. Even and Obiang as well for that matter. It all gelled for that season. But for me, you have to have at least 3 seasons under your belt before I start thinking about, yes, he's a great player in terms of Hammer of the Year, etc., etc.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get that, and certainly, like you said, I mean, the way the Payet left, it's more a case of like what could have been if he'd have been a man and stuck around.
Yeah.
And,
in other places, that's half the reason why he went, unfortunately.
Yeah.
So being April Fool's Day and all, there had been those Payet rumors circulating today, and Manuel Pellegrini leaving at the end of the summer, and he's pissed off. He's done. He doesn't want to be part of this project anymore. Also, Rice leaving, and even Arnie apologizing to the fan that he told to shut the fuck up. A lot of those false things. But yeah, no, I think the Payet one was probably the most commented on as somewhat believable. Actually, a lot of people fell for it.
Do you know what? A lot of people. There's one story I saw today. I don't know if you guys have a look on Claret and Hugh today. talking about the Kissing Me Batak being dropped at the halftime show, and the Hammerettes coming back instead.
Yeah, yes.
I wish.
Yeah, and they're gonna film it. They're gonna film it, right? They're gonna film a series on them.
All the comments down there are saying, "Yeah, this has got to be a wind-up. This has to be a wind-up." But loads of people at the same point are saying, "Yeah, please. I know this is a wind-up, but please make it happen."
Yeah,
that's along the lines of Mia Khalifa is actually going to buy a large share in the club.
Oh yeah, I heard that one too. Yeah, that'll be going.
But I think for me, one of the funniest April Fool's jokes was about 10 years ago, when just a little while after the two Davids took over, the Sun did a picture of our upcoming season. I think it was the 10-11 home shirt with Ann Summers as the sponsors. Pink. It was hysterical. Loads of people fell for it. The Sun's complaints board went off the chart for most of the day until people realised it was a wind-up.
Oh, lovely days. I love this. I can't wait to see what else.
We've got like an Ann Summers, wannabe now as like one of the owners of the bloody team now. I mean, who would have thought if you'd have told us, 20 years ago that one of the members of the board is, who he is.
Yeah, exactly.
Seriously. I mean, we know that we've been Rogered royally over the course of God knows how many years, and now we're getting Rogered royally by a guy who really knows how to do it. So,
yeah, and he's not been giving us enough lube for it either, for that matter.
Seriously.
Did you go to the match on Saturday?
I did.
You did?
Yeah.
Oh boy.
Well, let me put it this way: I went to a Everton training ground, I should say. That was near. Oh, just when I did my reaction video to it, it was literally I came home, set the studio up, and went for it. Which is probably one of the reasons, Tim, why I entertained you so much.
Yes.
The last couple, I've relaxed a little bit more, and I'm remembering a lot more, but I'm still trying to block it out. It was. I don't understand how we can go from, for example, being under Allardyce and beating Chelsea at home, which beating the squad that was the Champions League final squad when we beat them. Was it 3-2? I think the Carlton Cole header. Right? And then literally a few 4 or 5 years later, put in that performance that we saw. I mean, I say use performance in the most Vegas word. There's a lot more which I'm not going to say, but it's just we have so many good players, and all of a sudden we just don't turn up. Now, because I know, Tim, on your last broadcast when you were talking to Chaz from Maryland Hammers, you mentioned a couple of things, more specifically about Arnautovic and all that ridiculousness that's been going on. From what I'm understanding, because the rumours were breaking after the game, that the reason why we're putting in bad performances is because the players, and if it's true, then I 100% agree with it, that they're pissed off with Arnautovic because he's thrown his toys out of the pram. He's got the more money that he wanted, and the players are not. It's really unsettled the players since January, which, yes, I can see why people are saying that, with the exception of the 20 minutes at the end of Huddersfield. Pretty much, yeah. Since January, it's been a completely different team, completely different. When Arnautovic was out injured in December, it was the best 5-6 weeks we've seen so far that season. So the logic's there, but Arnautovic, as I said, needs to do one as far as I'm concerned. I don't mind prima donnas. I mean, we had prima donnas in Di Canio. There was times where Redknapp wanted to slap him for doing stuff. For example, that when he caught the ball against Everton, he was on Sky saying how wonderful and gentlemanly he was, and he was about to rip his head off after the game for doing it because he wanted the points.
So you don't think it has anything to do with them not wanting to be in Europe next season?
I think so. At the same point, yes, because you're right. We don't want to be humiliated by Astra Gugu for the third straight qualifying round.
Well, I mean, I don't think we have the squad to handle that anyway. And I mean, and they don't have the budget in the off season to, you know, to fill the voids, really.
Yeah, I mean, we've hardly got a squad that can compete for the Premier League campaign. I mean, don't get me wrong, I still think we're going to finish 10th. You know, I'll be happy with that. But you know, as last night, where are we going to get the points in January? You know, we've got some with those 4 weeks. We've got you know, Chelsea on Monday. We'll probably turn up for that, like you guys were saying.
Yeah, usually happens. Yeah.
We've got Man United. Then we've got Leicester at home, and then we've got Spurs away, and then after that we've got Southampton at home before Wolves away at the end of the season. It's tricky points. Tricky.
Yeah, because Leicester's actually been playing well under Brendan Rodgers. They've won 3 and lost 1 underneath them so far. So they're playing well, and that's not going to be a fun match to play. Usually we do, you know, 50-50 against them. But the thing that scares me most is near the end of the season would be Southampton, who's still going to be down there struggling. I mean, they're going to be fighting. And that's not a good time, next to the last game of the season, to be playing a team down near the bottom.
Exactly, but they beat Brighton at the weekend 1-0. And a very hard performance from them as well.
Yeah, and then to finish off with Watford away, that's no good.
Yeah. I mean, I know everybody.
John, where do you lay the blame? I mean, because when you see like a whole team that's putting in such a poor, pathetic performance like this, do you lay the blame at Pellegrini's feet?
Not 100%. I agree with what Lee said. He's 70% culpable for that, because I understand the reasons why Perez was put in the starting 11. Because when he came in on the second half of Huddersfield, he worked hard. I mean, everybody worked hard in the second half. You know, if he had his mind open and switched a bit, he could have scored 1 himself. So I can understand that. Obiang, as I say, I love him.
Yeah.
Gone to me as far as I'm concerned. His mind's not there. He wants to be back in Italy. But I've said it many times over the years. The manager can tell the players what to do. It's the players' decision to do that, and that's the thing. That's why Pellegrini was at the touchline for most of the whole game, as you said, Tim, just standing going to each other, talk, because it was dissent in whatever reason it was, and you know they're prima donnas.
They were. I mean, he kept telling them. Pellegrini kept telling them to talk, but they were talking. They were bickering. They were bickering at each other. They really weren't. Yeah, I mean, you could see them on the pitch. They were mouthing to each other, but it didn't look happy, and they were, missing passes. They were overpassing. They were overshooting. I mean, it was bizarre. It was really strange. But my thing is, why would Pellegrini feel that was the best lineup for that match? I mean, are there injuries we don't know about, or people pick up knocks during training, or I don't know what he was thinking.
I mean, the Anderson thing broke Saturday morning because apparently somebody on the official supporters board broke it out. That's how that story got out, which apparently is an ankle injury. Noble unfortunately lost his grandma over the week. I think a couple of days before the end of the week. So he was. But the same. That's why he was training, but at the same point, going back to what we were saying about the bickering, Snodgrass was having a go at Fabianski quite a fair bit, and it's good that he genuinely cares. It's not the Snodgrass last season before last where he just didn't look bothered. But from that side, I like to see people having a go at each other, just saying just sort this out. I mean, I remember many times especially when we were down in the Championship, Rob Green and Mark Noble telling each other to fuck off because they were just arguing with each other the whole time. So from that side of things, I like to see people having a go at each other, just saying, you should be here, you should be doing this, and blah blah blah. But at the same point, when everybody's doing it, it filters back to the crowd, and which caused the boos at half time, and even more boos with Anderson and Arnautovic going off when Antonio came on. I think it was Antonio, but it's just. It breaks my heart. It's just like I've had the team in my family, for all the generations, pretty much right since Thames Ironworks to present, and it's we've seen everything, with the exception of a UFO landing and abducting everything. We've pretty much seen everything else that's possible that can go wrong at a football club. It's not the manager, it's not the players, it's not a curse on the club. It just seems to be West Ham. It just seems to be the West Ham way to just screw things up majorly. I mean, we love it, but we hate it for that same reason at the same point.
So here's one for you then. I mean, you've experienced it, I've experienced it, and I think, bless him, Tim's experiencing it now. What would you give as advice for some of those American hammers out there that have been chosen by our illustrious team to suffer this punishment for the rest of their lives, as to how they can cope with this, apart from lashings of ginger beer after every game? I mean, how do they cope with this? I mean, is there a light at the end of the tunnel for the West Ham supporter?
Absolutely, but the problem is the light's getting further and further away every season.
And is it a freight train that's coming towards us?
But you know, for me, the best way I deal with it, funny enough, because I've been doing the channel since the beginning of last season, is coming home and doing the videos. You know, it really helps get it out. Apart from getting drunk and getting stoned, like loads of people do, and causing fights with other supporters and whatnot. And you know, but you see, the thing is with for London clubs, Tim, you mentioned about the Everton fans and how obnoxious they were.
Oh yeah.
You the Tranmere Rovers fans, mate, that are stuck in between the two, between Liverpool and Everton. They're even worse. They are awful.
Really?
They are basically the Liverpool version of Millwall. They are some
really yeah.
But I mean, it's weird that it's great. I'm absolutely loving the fact that we've got supporters all over the world, and you know, Tim, yourself included, with that. You know, you're the glutton for punishment the rest of the way that we are. The problem is you guys wake up bloody early in the morning to watch the games. We have to, you know, that's a whole nother level of punishment as far as I'm concerned. Getting up at 7, 8 o'clock.
Yeah, well, out in Fresno, we had a guy on from Fresno, and you know, the California people, they get up at 4:30 for the matches that we get up at 7:30 for, which is still 7:30 for a match is tough enough, but they show up in numbers. You know, it's quite impressive.
The biggest boo I got at the game on Saturday when we were in the pub, and we're lucky because we've got a pub that opened up early for us, and they'll actually serve alcohol for us, which is good as well.
That's good.
But the biggest boo I got was when I said, "So, let me get a head count right now. Who fancies getting up at 6:30 for the Tottenham match?" Well, it wasn't a boo. The place went dead quiet. They're like, "I don't know if I fancy getting up at 6:30 to watch Tottenham." But it's like, you know, it's tough. It's tough to, I mean, sure, I organise it, and I don't freaking feel like getting up at 6:30 for the Tottenham match. I really don't. So, I mean, have the players started an early summer holiday already? Is that what it is? Because, you know, maybe I should too.
Well, funny you should say that. A friend of mine at work, she's moving over to Italy with her workmates. Sorry, with her husband, I should say. And she got a message. She got a message from him this morning saying that he's already on the beach with his flip flops. And without even thinking about it, and I turned around to her and I went, "Wendy, if it makes you feel any better, West Ham had their flip flops on Saturday."
Yeah.
Yeah.
One thing that was missing was a pina colada in their hands.
Oh man. No, it looked like a bunch of kids just in the playground, you know, fighting each other. I mean, it really did. It looked like a bunch of kids playing football, you know, in the park. Really, they were bickering like little children, and they really couldn't play. They couldn't perform, you know. But the scariest thing was that Everton put out their best team.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't we even attempt to do that? I mean, look. I don't care what. I mean, you're right. Perez did perform well against Huddersfield, and I can kind of see why he may have done that. But at the same time, that was not near our best team on the pitch. And you can't do that against Everton, especially a team around the same spot on the table as you. I mean, that just made no sense. That was what was the most frustrating with the team sheet.
100%. When I did my preview video, I got the midfield. Got one out of the midfield right because I didn't know that Nasri was injured until Greeny did his video the next day. I didn't know that Anderson was injured until the Saturday morning. But I said I wanted Antonio out on the right and Lanzini sitting behind Hernandez on the at the start. And that's what what everybody wanted. We all wanted to have Antonio out on the pitch. We, happy to see Snodgrass was there, because I know he does. For me, Snodgrass seems to be one of those sort of players that's like a mirror for the players around him. The way that sometimes if he's surrounded by great players, he plays brilliantly. If he's playing by the same players that play abysmally, his mind's just on a different page, and it's weird. But at the same point, yeah, I don't understand why Antonio wasn't starting if Anderson was out that morning. It doesn't make any sense.
If it had anything to do with his fitness, it would make sense, because if you watched him for 5 minutes into the second half, he was gassed. I mean, he was huffing and puffing like 5 minutes into the second half. So I don't know if maybe he didn't even plan on playing at all, or what the deal was.
Yeah,
he was not fit.
You looked at him; he was huffing and puffing because he was all over that pitch. And that was the one thing that he was doing that nobody else was.
Oh, yeah, I can give him that much, yeah.
All over the show. He really gave an effort. When he came on the pitch, he gave a bloody effort. And that was the one thing, all right, he's not, let's face it, he's got no technical abilities at all, bless him. But he gave effort, and he added something to that pitch. And the game rose a little bit. It was like, why, like you said, why we didn't have him out there on the wing right from the get-go, I do not bloody know. Why we had Arnautovic out there, I mean, I'm done with the geezer. I am so done with this twat. It just send him to bloody China now. Send him to bloody Chinatown and put some dim sum in front of him and say, just sit here and eat all bloody day. I mean, it's ridiculous.
I'll tell you one thing. One thing I guarantee is probably more than likely going to happen when it comes to Arnautovic. For me, it's too much of a coincidence that we're playing in the Barclays Premier League, so the Barclays Asia Cup at the start of the pre-season. It's too much of a coincidence. Mm-hmm. I know we did it a few years ago. It was about 3 years ago as well. But for me, it just screams that the reason why Arnautovic got his pay rise was because the deal was done. Well, I know loads of other people have said this as well, but I agree with them. I feel that the deal was done in January for him to go at the end of the start of the summer transfer window, which is just around about the time that we're going to be playing over in Asia.
Yeah,
I want to be proven wrong.
It's the shop window, isn't it? Push his price up a little bit. So show him out a little bit over there, so he can push his price up a bit. Then maybe we don't have to pay his airfare because he'll already be over there.
Yeah.
Drop him off in some slum of Shanghai. Leave him there.
Yeah, but what do we do though? Like, what do we do now? Who else do we? I mean, what do we do? I don't know, man. I don't even know how to say it, man. What the hell do we do? I mean, he's gone. I mean, you said he's gone. But with our window, is there anybody we sell for sure, or?
You don't start him for the rest of the season. Let the guy wither.
No, 100%.
I mean, his attitude when he came off the pitch with was it throwing a bottle of water or something? And then
telling the fan to shut the fuck up. Yeah.
Seriously, I mean,
you suspend him for that.
Chicharito's had a good couple of games in Mexico. All right, yeah, he's a great super sub and everything, but he's come on the pitch and he tries and he's performed for us. So why not let him perform a little bit more? Put him out.
Exactly.
There. Put him out there. Let him have his day.
I know some people are saying that there's a possibility that the reason why Hernandez wasn't in the starting 11 was because of his journey back from Mexico. If that's true, that's fine.
Yeah.
We had other international players that started that game, and it's just for me. Like, for example, Declan Rice, a prime example of it. This kid's all right. Yes, he's younger than Hernandez is, and yes, the travel wasn't that far. But he still flew out to Montenegro, played a whole 90 minutes, came back, did his training, and did a whole 90 minutes for us on Saturday.
Yeah.
Yep.
I just wish that Pellegrini had said in the match the post-match interview he did with the media that I made mistakes. No one's gonna hate him for it. Everybody knows everybody makes mistakes.
Yeah.
Arnautovic has made plenty. Pellegrini has made a few this season, but it's understandable. It's his first season with the club. But at the same point, if you say, look, I screwed up. I made the wrong decision. We'll be making more changes when we play. We're going to make some changes when we play Chelsea on Monday. then fine. Nobody would be jumping on his back as much as people are. I mean, it's ridiculous. People seeing people on Facebook and Twitter saying Pellegrini out. I said, why exactly?
I can't believe that started already. I mean, yeah, over 1 week match, man.
I think Pellegrini's done a great job this year. I think he's done a phenomenal job.
Yep.
I think, considering where we were last year and where we are this year, all right, I don't think we were ready for European football. I don't think we've got the squad for European football. And I think the way we're playing right now, we're proving we sure as heck aren't ready for European football. So we're 4 or 5 players away from being ready for European football. And hopefully we can do that in the summer transfer window. But we need players with a winning attitude, not just skilled technical players. We need players that know how to go out there and know how to not give up. That's what we really
need. This is the problem.
Yeah.
But this is the whole problem. The only way we're going to be able to bring in players like that is by paying them stupid amounts of money.
Yeah.
Because we're not going to be able to. This is the funny thing. I was talking to a couple of mates about it at the game on Saturday, because let's face it, we had quite a lot of other things to talk about. People seem to think that 15, 20 years ago, 4.5 million we paid for Hartson from Arsenal, right? People think that spending the same amount of money now, we're going to get the same quality forward. We're not. It's we've got to pay 40, 45 million for a striker that's going to get us 15 to 20 goals a season. It's just not going to happen. And that's the only way we'll be able to do a European push, be it Europa or Champions League, is to spend a hell of a lot of money. And yes, we spent a lot of money last season, but we bought in 95% of the squad last season on 100 million plus Pellegrini's backroom staff cost. So in order to do a proper European push, you need to spend 80 to 90 million on 2 players. We haven't got the money to do that.
So they're going to have to bank. They're going to have to bank on free transfers for guys who are not upper echelon, and also loans from maybe overseas clubs, because no one in the Premier League is going to have anybody worth any while that's going to let the loan someone to us, especially strikers. I don't think there's anybody loan worthy, but we will have the wages to cover it. A loan or a free transfer. So I don't know what else. What else we do other than sell players?
Exactly, and that's. So go on, man.
The other thing as well, of course, that which is the elephant in the room, is that I think we come across year after year lately, and that is that we get somebody in mind that we think, okay, it isn't going to cost a fortune, but we might be able to loan them from another team, and they don't want to bloody well come to us.
Yeah.
They don't want to play for us. They're a half-decent player, but they would rather go to Crystal Palace.
Yeah, and I know who you're talking about there, Wayne. That player had already rejected us twice already.
Exactly.
Because at the and that's the thing. It was nothing to do with football. I guarantee Palace were offering him more wages than we were.
Mm-hmm.
But that's all it is now. It's nothing about the sport. At the end of the day, it's a job like anybody to us. It's like, if I got headhunted and a company came and said, right, we're going to give you double your wage, I'd go. Wayne, you'd go. Tim, you'd go. It's the same thing. They don't have that affiliation that we do to the club, and that's the problem.
Yeah, you give me a nice backdrop like you've got there, John, and I'll come and do the show with you, mate.
$20, mate. Go for it.
But so who do we go for in this transfer window? What do we need? Who do we pick up? Come on, we've only got 6 games to really figure this shit out. I mean, obviously, Vasilios is out there. He's got his people earmarked. We're hearing all this talk about Gomez.
Yeah. Well, I mean, for me, I can never pronounce the guy's name. The Barcelona 20-year-old. I can't remember his name now. He's a very from a stats position. I mean, stats don't say anything, but there's a guy at work who's a Barcelona fan, and he says he's one for the future. We should have really gone for him in January when he was coming to the end of his contract, but he went out on loan, if I remember correctly. We need to. I personally want to see De Silva give him a decent run out, maybe in the next couple of games, maybe against Spurs or United away, where we know we're not going to get something, but at least bring him in, because every time he's played, like he did when he played against Birmingham, and he had I can't remember what league game at home he came on as a sub for, but he's showing potential. And I personally, because we've got this 25 million available, and plus that, and that's it until we sell other players, we're going to have to start bringing more players through. Give Dean Garner a bit more of a run. Tim, I know you're not a big fan of him at the minute, but Dean Garner needs his time to settle in the same way that Rice needed his time to settle the season before.
No, I agree. My thing was that was a third substitution, and I didn't feel like he was going to add anything other than just he was throwing them out there to give him minutes. I mean, he's really not a threat, especially against a strong Everton. You know, because they were playing fantastic. So, I mean, I have nothing against him. You know, he needs the minutes for sure. He's going to be fantastic for us, hopefully. And but yeah, I felt that was a poor choice to sub. I felt that we had other. Who else was on the bench, man? It was somebody else on the bench. I thought
somebody out there to get Zabra off of that pitch, because Zabra, God bless him, was.
I thought that's what I thought they were going to do with Antonio. I thought they were going to put Antonio on right back, man.
Yeah, that's all. That's all. I agree 100%, but Antonio hates that position. He puts the shift in, but he's not.
Yeah, he's got the pace for it too. You know, 10 times the speed of Zabaleta. I mean, that was our weakest link. So whatever. But no. So who? Oh man, I don't know. I mean, I still think that we have some guys in the other 23s, and also on loan that might be good for it might show us something different in the summer, in the preseason friendlies and stuff. One that I've been dying to see actually get a run out would be Nathan Holland, man. I mean, I think he's the most underrated player that we got in our reserves.
Definitely. 100.
He's been trained, but he's got skills like he's got the flair and skills of like Ravel Morrison almost, but not quite the attitude. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I get it 100%. Yes. Also, Josh Cullen. I reckon we could get something out of him as well.
I think so. And I can't remember who I spoke to, and they shut me right down. I can't remember who it was. I think it was actually Mike Manera from Mike on Mondays. He said that he was talking some smack about Cullen, saying that he's pretty much gone. He'll probably end up going and signing with Charlton. Because he's had such a good time over there. But I don't know, man. I think that Cullen showed a lot of promise. I would love to see him in there.
But just remember though, what was it under Grant? We had Junior Stanislas. We got rid of him when we got relegated. Now look what he's doing for Bournemouth. You've got to show patience. You've really got to show patience.
I don't think that was a mistake, though. I don't think that was a mistake. I mean, he's doing okay for Bournemouth, but he's not lighting it up. I don't think he's lighting it up. I don't feel too bad about it. When I watch him play for Bournemouth, I'm like, yeah, all right. It would have been nice to have hung on to him and given him a bit more time. And I think it's bad the way that we let him go. But I don't think he's lighting it up. I really don't think so.
But he's definitely better than some of the shit that we have, I mean, in hindsight, anyway. I mean, it could have gone either way, really.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, man. So what do we do with Adrian?
Well, he's gone, isn't he? He's not going to be a backup.
He's had 2 seasons now where he's been the goalkeeper, the reserve goalie. I don't want to see him go. I love the bloke, especially for some of the stuff he's done with us since breaking through under Allardyce. Taking the Everton penalty out of the equation. He's done some really, really good things for us, but he's too jittery. When he's trying to do a little keepy uppy with the ball, you can hear the entire stadium go.
Yeah, serious. Everyone wants their ref, don't they?
I couldn't stand him when he first came in.
I mean, Fabianski's done a bit every now and again. He scares me every now and again, but nowhere near as much as Adrian, and it'd be a shame to see him go. He's a cult hero. He's like, he's the goalkeeper version of Carlton Cole for the majority of us. We just don't want to see him go. We don't want to see him go, but we're going to have to, because who's going to sit on the bench again for at his level that he wants to break into the Spain team? He's not going to be a number 2 again.
Yeah, and he's been. I think he's been used and abused by us over the years. But he also did the same thing to Juicy when he first came in. he took that away from him, and now he's feeling the same thing. He has felt that for some time now. Even when Randolph was the keeper, they were fighting back and forth who's better, and then it was like you said, Joe Hart and so on. And I don't think that's even fair on him, but it was still good to have him as like you said, a backup. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, I don't even see him going anywhere and doing well enough to be a starter, really. And I guess so in Spain, but there's too much flair in Spain for him. Yeah. I think attacking-wise, but I don't know. I wish him the best, I guess.
I think he could find somewhere to start. I mean, I think he's still a serviceable goalie, and I think he's got a lot of experience, and that sort of experience goes a long way. I mean, he's got a few years left in him. I really do. Yeah. And I think it leaves the spot open up there for us to change Jackie Wilshere up as a goalie. Get our money's worth out of Jack. Put him in there in the wheelchair with some jacks on it, and we could call him really have it jacked up wheelchair Jack. And he'll be perfect for us then. Be worth all the money.
I said when he did his medical, I said this is the wrong decision. I've got a lot of respect for Jack Wilshere. He's been brilliant for Arsenal. He's a very, very good player on his day. But like Carroll, he doesn't have his day that too often because of his injury record. And it worries me that we're still trying to push to this next level, yet we're doing style of signings that we would have done 10, 12 years ago.
Yeah, I wanted him to succeed. I wanted him to succeed so badly. I really did, because I just think in his day, he was such a good player, such a brilliant player, and I think he's a good lad. And I just really wanted him to succeed. But every single time he went out there, I was just like, oh gosh, I was just finding it really hard to find something positive to say about the way he was playing.
Yeah,
it was nice to see him come home, per se.
That was it. I honestly think it was a bit of a PR move more than anything else. I don't think he's a Pellegrini star player. He certainly isn't. Hasn't been for the last three or four seasons now. I reckon because he was out of contract. He's documented he's a West Ham supporter. He wanted to come and play for us. He was brought in just to try and G things up with how badly things ended last season.
So if you guys were West Ham and Manchester United offered you £70 million for Declan Rice, would you sell?
No.
Mm-mm.
No way. For me, he's an investment for the future. I know the club will if they get a ridiculous price for him, and that means we can bring in two or three players for his position, or likewise put 3 out and 1 in. Then I know the club will do it. But for me, no. The thing is that with the exception of James Tompkins being sold,
don't mention that.
I hate that. I've got to. Sorry, Tim. I know you love him, and I loved him as well, mate. I've loved him. The junior that was coming through when I was watching West Ham on a regular basis. The first, I think my his debut was the first time I had a full season ticket. So, I love him. I still keep an eye. He's still in my fantasy league team all the time. Christ knows why. He doesn't do much in terms of the points, but I always select him.
Yeah.
With the exception of letting Tompkins go, and the whole Payet debacle, we've pretty much kept hold of our best players since the two Davids brought us back to the Premier League. And I know that was their mantra, that we'll get rid of the crap, we'll keep our best players and build around the best players. And so far, to a degree, they've been doing it. They've not been bringing in multi-million pound signings, but we just think, yes, that's it. We're going to finish 6th, we're going to do this, we're going to do that. But it's just going to be. I can see it coming. I can see maybe not this summer, because him being an England setup is going to whack his price up a lot higher than that they were originally intending anyway. But I wouldn't be at all surprised if Pellegrini came out and joked the same way that Mourinho did about Hazard saying he's £200 million pound is 100 million a leg. It's going to be something like that. Yeah. As far as I'm concerned, there is no price for Declan Rice under any circumstances. Really, really isn't.
And that's going to sell season tickets as well. Having Declan Rice on that squad as a full-time England international is going to keep bums on seats in that stadium.
And I really hope he gets there.
For me, I loved watching England make a run at it. I love England, but I couldn't get into it because there was nobody West Ham in the team. I'm excited now about England. I'm really excited about England because Declan Rice is in the freaking squad.
Yeah,
you know, and it makes a difference to me, and I just don't see them letting them go. Yeah, I'd say 2 years down the road. Yeah, I could see it happening for definite.
Yeah,
I would agree.
No, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, yeah. So, I mean, I agree with that one. It's that line of thinking is the old way. West Ham personally, I would love to see him and Dean Garner possibly in another couple of years really working together. They link up very well together as we've seen. It was the Macclesfield 8-0 game, but they really work well together. Rice is that pin that we've needed in defensive midfield, or just this defence in total, just that little bit of that fight that we needed to try and not to concede as many goals. And just to track back to quickly, Tim, about Fabianski, I seem to be the only other person apart from you two that seems to be you guys in the States, I should say. I hate the fact that he's made over 100 saves so far this season.
Yeah.
That really scares the hell out of me, because if we had Adrian back in goal, we would be fighting off relegation. We really would. And the only team we've successfully beaten in the bottom three is Fulham. You know, we beat them twice. We've beaten twice this season. Huddersfield, we really struggled to beat them, and and Cardiff was a humiliation away.
Yeah.
We've only been able to get one decent scalp out of the bottom three. That worries me.
Yeah, that's true. Going back real quick, you guys were talking about like big signings and us holding on to our better players and stuff like that. Wasn't it Lanzini that was linked with the Reds, like Liverpool? Was it last summer or the summer before that?
It's probably a story in the Sun, which means it's probably wrong.
Not now. I mean, a while ago. But we ended up keeping him. But either way, no, I think that's someone we definitely keep. And but again, he doesn't look the same after his injury. I mean, he's shown a couple glimpses, but I don't know. I'd rather Nasri looks to be start worthy.
But we can't afford him. From what I'm understanding, he's asking for an extra 20 grand a week than he's already on for next season. I don't think that's going to happen.
Yeah,
I really don't think that's going to happen. Again, I'd like to be proven wrong, but because the guy's on, I think it's 70 grand a week plus 20 grand appearances. So he wants another 20 on top of that. We'll see it.
If you stay fit, I'd do it.
You know, he's worth the money for the glimpses we've seen on him so far. I mean, he's a cut above everybody else we've got in that midfield. Really is.
Agreed. 100.
When he comes back and when he performs.
We've talked about this in the past. I don't know if you're with me, Wayne. We talked about how the performances since January, especially, but no, even in the beginning, really, when we lost the first 4 matches in a row, we were thinking like, what was wrong? We had, some of the greatest players. We spent £100 million. This is going to be a great team. If you put us on paper, we destroy your opponent. But what it was that you have someone like Anderson, and then you have someone like Lanzini, and their class, their level of play is 20 times better than an Obiang or a Noble, or they're on a whole nother level. And then when you put them together, it's like the better players are starting to kind of what you were saying about the mirror player, what you're saying about Snodgrass, where they're now having to dumb their game down to perform with these players who can't step their level up. They'll never be great. So we have like a few great players on the pitch, and their level is class. Like a Nasri, when he's fit and 100%, he's up there. He's class. So if you have him, Lanzini, and Anderson, that's amazing football. And then you have Chicharito up top. That's of them. That's top-notch football. And then now you have like Snodgrass, you have Obiang, and you have Noble, and you have Antonio, and then they kind of dumb the game down a little bit for them. No.
Yes, agreed. But that's the problem. Is we need players to pull them forward rather than having players being dragged back by those guys, and that's where we're struggling.
Yeah.
But again, you look at the squad, the normal squad that we have. You've got 9 out of those 11 that are just very, very close to pushing us to that next level, and we just don't see it. We just really, really don't see it.
And if we had Yarmolenko, it'd been a whole other story.
Oh,
He's another one of those class top level players.
Yeah. My is the fact that what he's going to be like if he does come back at the end of the season or the start of next season, for being out for that length of time, having no proper game time. Same with Sanchez as well, for that matter. You know, I was impressed with him before he got that massive injury. I thought he played well, but again, out for the most of the season. Again, it's that cloud over the club that we just seem to have very good players that get injured for 9-10 months of the season.
Yeah. I mean,
it's a tough deal. It really
I used to bitch about Allardyce, consistently bitching about our injuries and how we would be so much better, but we have too many injuries, but it's true. I mean, this season especially, we would have been so much better if we didn't have those injuries. And it's funny because it's our starting 11 is on the injury bench.
Yeah,
well, it's part of the game, isn't it? It's the teams that have got the money to spend it on that quality and depth are the ones that make it into that top 4 all the time. Let's face it. We don't have that money. We're not going to pay for the quality and depth because we can't afford it. So we can't make it into that elite group. We're struggling right now to be the wannabes. Let's be honest. We are. We're not an Everton right now. Everton are an official wannabe. They really are. We're not an Everton. We're not a Watford right now. We're 3 or 4 players away from that. Maybe with Yarmolenko, like you said, it's going to be tough. He's had a season out of it. I hope that we pick up some people in the summer that are going to be able to push us forward.
Yeah.
I mean, forever hopeful, right? I mean, you can't love this team without being forever hopeful that something's going to happen.
Yeah.
So, and I believe that something will happen.
You talk
always everywhere, haven't we? So
yeah. But you
John, more of an apt song for the club. You really can't get much more of an apt song.
Yeah, that's true. John, you mentioned I think a few episodes ago you were doing like a financial breakdown per se, and so I don't understand. Like, I understand why we only have 25 million, but at the same time, why? With the amount of money that we make from the stadium, from the concessions, from the tickets, from not just from the tickets, but like the concessions, you're talking about 59,000 people at that friggin' stadium, and they don't make enough money off of all this. You get the stadium alone, like the concessions and the tickets and the merchandise and the club shop, and which is open all the time. And you tell me like there's no money to go around.
Well, you see, this is the thing. What was I'm no accountant, right? I can only see from what I saw on the reports. Now, bearing in mind that was for the entire of last season, so we can't take anything for this season because that won't come out until towards the end of the year. But you're right. But at the same point, David Sullivan, who I think should get well away from our club, a Welsh supporter. He's a Cardiff City fan, if I remember correctly. But he has a soft spot for West Ham, and that in itself worries the hell out of me. But he did say in the movie that was made about the last season of the bowling, the Iron Men, he did say that all we were going to make from the ticket sales is between 3 and 4 million, and the accounts show that, and that's the worrying thing. That's why I wanted to focus more on the fact of the sponsorship that's coming through, because it's bugger all. The sponsorship will pay for 3/4 of a player. That's it. We don't. Yes. Oh, you have a look at the programs, and you've got 12, 15 sponsors, but they're all companies, with the exception of obviously the Betway and Kissing Me. Pretty much everybody else, nobody wouldn't know who they were if they didn't see them coming up up on the screens when there's a free kick to be taken or something. It's whereas you look at the ones that are successfully pushing for the top six, have got much bigger sponsorship deals than we do, and not just logo, not just main sponsors, but like for example, Liverpool sponsorship deal with Nivea, huge deal coming in, and and that's the worry behind it, is because that's why even though I included it in there, I didn't talk about the TV money, because we all know how much the club gets on the TV money. That in total we get 160. Was it 100? It's about 162 million, if I remember correctly. That's not a lot when you're paying £100 million in the transfer window, and it also goes down to obviously the wages. There would have been money that went to Wilshere's agent as well for that. The free transfer. That's why David Golden quite rightly says there's no such thing as a free transfer, because you have to pay the agent nothing. But also all the money that comes out of it as well is split down to literally everybody that works for the club: the cleaners, the cooks, the people on the phones, the people in the shops, the guys that sort out the catering, everything. That's where the money goes as well. And we seem to forget that. It's the FIFA generation of where you're thinking, right, the club has got £100 million to spend on players. Yes, we did, but we had £162 million come in that season. Where's the rest of the 62 million gone? It's gone on the wages. It's gone on other people's wages. It's gone on the loans that are going back to the two Davids. It's a lot more complex than everybody thinks.
They do have a lot of employees. Exactly,
yeah, and it's not just that. It's the people behind the scenes, because everybody seems to be under the illusion that Karen Brady is the only person that works in the public relations. And look how shit she is at it. But there's a big team with probably about 20 people in there as well. So they're going to be on probably not much more than the average from 15, 16 grand, maybe 17, something like that.
Yeah.
But the point is the fact that we don't have as much money as everybody thinks, because there's a lot more going on behind the scenes than everybody seems to realise.
So next year we need Ann Summers to fork over some cash.
Sponsor the stadium. Why can't we get a bloody name sponsor for this stadium, for crying out loud? I mean, it's like, is it Olympic Stadium? Is it London Stadium? Is it the Ann Summers Stadium? Come on. Somebody needs to pull their finger out and get a name sponsor for this stadium. For definite. I mean, each way has done bugger all in getting a name sponsor for this stadium.
Wasn't Coca-Cola supposed to do it? Or wasn't that or is that a rumor?
I thought it was some Indian car company.
Yeah, there's been a few over the last couple of years that have been touted around by it. No. I mean, again, you look at Man City. Their sponsor is the guy that are the people that own the stadium. That's why they've got an open checkbook.
Yep.
But what makes me laugh about this new move to Spurs' so-called new stadium is the name of the stadium. You guys heard what it's going to be?
No.
The Tottenham Hotspur Stadium.
Oh dear, they're going to be in financial trouble. The gift that keeps on giving.
We was talking about a few months ago. Maybe things have changed, but yeah, the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. I would love to meet the man who spent thousands and thousands of pounds pitching that idea.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh God, the spuds love it so much.
That was a highlight of my weekend. That really was a highlight of my weekend when I turned on for the last 10 minutes of that match and saw that own goal, and I was like, you know what? I wiped my tears for just for 30 seconds. laugh, and then I texted him. I knew.
Oh boy! All right, so guys, we're pretty much out of time. John, is there anything else you'd like to mention? Anything you'd like to shout out to or want to say?
Yeah, big shout out to the guys you've got coming up this in the next few podcasts. Gio from Hammers Chat, him and Gonzo together are one of the reasons why I started my channel up. And likewise, Nicky from West Ham Fan TV, him and Ryan. Those are the guys that got me to do what I'm doing now. So I know they're coming on next week, over the coming weeks, I should say. So it'd be nice if obviously if you don't want it on record there that they are the reasons why I'm doing this as well, and likewise with ex-West Ham employee, very very helpful Twitter account to follow. And I don't know if you guys listen to the West Ham Way podcast that they do every week with through Phillips FM. Take a listen to that because you get some very very good stuff on there. I would love to, Tim, if you're able to reach out to him on Twitter and get him to do a podcast with you just on vocals only, because he doesn't want his face broadcast everywhere.
Yeah.
Because he'll be able to tell you a lot of stuff.
Yeah, him or Dave. I mean, that would be huge. I mean, I listen. I try to follow as much as I can. I don't get on the forums as much as I used to because I'm watching so much YouTube, watching you guys. I mean, you watching. What is it? I was watching Hammer and Talk a little bit, but he fell off the face of the earth again. And then I was watching West Ham Fan TV is pretty much the one that got me into this whole thing, where I didn't even know there was such a thing until I saw a link saying check out West Ham Fan TV, and then because of them I saw there's also Hammer's Chat, because there's also JPWHUTV, there's also Fatal LG or Fatal LG, all these other shows too, and I'm like, wow, this is cool. And
realize you've got kids you have to take care of occasionally.
Well, that too, but no, I mean, I try as much as I can to follow Twitter, because obviously the main reason I go on Twitter is because of, like you said, X. Great stuff. It's definitely not David Gold. I don't really go on there for him too much. But I appreciate that. And listen, thank you so much for coming on, man. I think this is, we'd love to have you back on too, because we're going to invite all of our guests back on again once we run out of guests. To also freshen things up, because a couple of months from now, I mean, there's going to be a whole slew of things you're going to want to talk about with us. And the main thing was just to introduce you to the American West Ham fan base, and hopefully they can subscribe to your channel, which is again JPWHUTV. No spaces, just put that in the search bar and on YouTube, and check them out.
Thanks, Dean. Really do appreciate it. There are some. Already have some US followers already, which is really cool. I mean, I've been a bit cheeky. I'll have to make a confession. I've been a bit cheeky with Maryland Hammer's Facebook page. I've been promoting my channel, my videos on there for the last 8 months now. I'm surprised. So Chaz, if you're watching, mate, sorry, but you're one of the reasons why I've got quite a nice subscriber volume now, because they really help out as well.
Chaz, he's all over the place, man. That's funny.
Serious.
And Wayne, thanks for joining me again, my brother. I think we're going to continue to do this as much as we can. We've had.
And John, you have to send my regards to New Malton and Motspur Park, my old stomping ground.
Next time I'm down there, mate, I'll send you love.
Serious, go to a few pubs and don't mention my name, because I've probably been barred from them.
All right, guys, one last thing to say. Come on, you Irons.
Come on, you Irons.